Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday, Analytics Thursday. We're here talking through all sorts of fun stuff today. Thank you for joining. This is Eric Matisoff, and my role at Adobe is the Analytics and Data Science Evangelist here at Adobe, and I'm really excited to have a few folks from the Analytics Product Management and Product Marketing team joining us for this great session. So just a few housekeeping items before we get moving. First of all, this is a live webinar, but we are keeping it in a listen-only format, but it's very much intended to be interactive. That means that you have the opportunity to type questions into the chat pod that you'll see at the side of your screen anytime, and we've got a team of folks here that are available to help answer any questions that you have. So please do plan on doing so. Just to note that this session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent out to everyone who registered, along with a link to recordings of previous sessions within the series. We'll also have a closing poll at the end, so please do stick around to the end so that we can get feedback on the usefulness of this session, as well as any additional suggestions that you have for further webinars. A few other items to mention is you'll notice in the chat pod that we've posted a few useful links, some that are tied directly to this session and others that are a little more generic when it comes to Adobe Analytics. In terms of those generic Adobe Analytics URLs, do please, if you haven't checked it out before, head on over to adobe.ly/Adobe Analytics YouTube to check out the Adobe Analytics YouTube channel. There are over 100 videos there that are associated with great content in terms of features, past webinars, and new content all the time. Also, I highly recommend checking out the Experience League. It's a great way to get a personalized recommendation and training guide in order to stay up to date on the latest and greatest from the Adobe Experience Cloud. Also, head on over to adobe.ly/analytics forum in order to dig into the community in terms of discussions that are happening across the ecosystem and across the industry. There's a great community there from customers like yourselves, partners, as well as folks from the product and community teams here at Adobe. So head on over there and ask questions, start discussions, and even submit ideas for the products themselves. If you haven't heard about it, the Insider Tour is, well, on tour. We've taken the Adobe product team across the country here in the US, as well as we're heading to EMEA as well. Next week, we are in London, we're heading to Sydney, we're heading to Melbourne. We've got a few additional dates here in the US as well. So if you haven't signed up yet, head on over to adobe.ly/insider tour, capital I, capital T, to see the latest and greatest in terms of tips and tricks and recommendations, best practices, and even some sneak peeks into new features that are coming to products. Also at that Insider Tour, we're hosting our Rockstar feature as well, and that's our session where customers just like yourselves get to present for 10 minutes your best couple of tips, and you can learn and vote on them for the opportunity to get a free ticket to EMEA Summit or the summit that we have here in Vegas, depending on your location. Finally, if you're looking to stay on top of the latest and greatest from Adobe Analytics, check out the Analytics Insider newsletter by heading to adobe.ly/analytics insider. Keep in mind that all these links are case sensitive. So I think that's enough of me yapping over here. I'm really excited to introduce Jen Lasser from our Analytics Product Management team, as well as Amber Thornton from the Analytics Product Marketing team, who will be walking us through all sorts of really useful tips and tricks and information associated with the end-of-life announcement with Ad Hoc Analysis. Let me hand it on over to Amber to kick things off. Thanks, Amber.
Thanks, Eric. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for today's session. We're really excited to be talking about our announcement, the end-of-life Ad Hoc Analysis. I want you to know that we've been listening on the forum thread, and we've read every comment, and we want to use this webinar not only to show you how to transition to Analysis Workspace, but also to give you a peek into what we are planning to accomplish before access ends next year. And so we'll use this session to also highlight some of the exciting things coming to Analysis Workspace that will be there before access ends to Ad Hoc Analysis. So for those customers that did not get the notification on August 6th, we've announced the intention to end-of-life ad hoc analysis. We are announcing well in advance to give you time to ramp up on Workspace and to transition your workflows over. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we've been listening on forum thread, and we are aware that there are some important gaps that need to be closed, and we are committed to closing those gaps over the next year. Again, I want to stress that we will not be ending access to ad hoc analysis until we reach the necessary workflow parity between these products. One thing to note that during this time, we will only be supporting Java 8. Ad hoc analysis will not function on Java 9 or higher. So please ensure that you do not upgrade so that you can have full functionality between now and then. So the big question that's on everyone's mind is why? Why did we make this announcement? We really wanted to hit this during this meeting. So ad hoc analysis has been an extremely useful tool for deep dive analysis. Power analysts across organizations that we work with have become very skilled with it, while others have opted for Report Builder, Analysis Workspace. We recognize that many people have used this for a long time and have become really adept at it. However, we noticed several years ago that some of our customers are not able to install ad hoc analysis because it is based on a Java framework. Additionally, having ad hoc analysis has deterred the rate at which we're able to continue to innovate, primarily in Analysis Workspace. And this has really slowed down the speed at which we've been able to deliver the value that our analysts need from the tool. So by consolidating the functionality into Analysis Workspace, we really hope to simplify your workflows and provide you the same capabilities that you get in ad hoc analysis, plus more of the latest and greatest things that we're coming out with. Over the last 3 years, Analysis Workspace has become Adobe's leading analytics reporting tool for advanced users and beginners alike. It is a single powerful interface where you can, it helps you answer business questions very quickly at the speed of thought. We've embedded some really powerful data science features, some of which are listed here with anomaly detection and contribution analysis, but there's several others. We just came out with our attribution IQ, which is an extensive attribution modeling capability that's within Analysis Workspace, and Jen will highlight some of that later on. We have some incredible intelligent segment comparison capabilities that save analysts countless hours. And we have Fallout and Flow, which are some really improved customer journey tools that Jen will also be demonstrating for us later in the session. Along with this, we have some incredibly robust data visualization, very interactive. You can see some such as cohort analysis and map. And we give analysts the ability to curate components within the project and share them based on roles. So these are some of the reasons why Analysis Workspace is so useful for analysts. At the same time, we realize that Workspace still has room to improve. And we're not going to pretend like there are not gaps between Workspace and what ad hoc analysis can do today. We are committed to closing these gaps and to continue to improve Analysis Workspace. We plan to partner with you, our customers, throughout the next year to ensure that Workspace is as good and even better than ad hoc analysis has been for your organization. So again, I want to stress that nothing, that you will continue to have access to ad hoc analysis until we have closed these key workflow gaps. And Jen's going to kind of walk through the plan of how we're going to do that and then highlight some of these exciting new features that are moving over to Analysis Workspace. I'm going to pass it over to Jen.
Awesome. Thank you, Amber. So we wanted to give you a peek into what we're going to be focused on over the next year or so as we lead up to ending access to ad hoc analysis. As we mentioned earlier, we know Workspace still has a lot of room to improve to meet the needs that you've been solving in ad hoc analysis to date. There's a few key workflows that we're really focused on improving in particular. The first is advanced query building, so allowing you to build deep dive analyses really with multiple breakdown levels more quickly in Analysis Workspace. The second is allowing you to download 50,000 rows per breakdown out of Analysis Workspace. The third workflow is improving the flow visualization. We recognize that while there's a lot of benefits of the Workspace flow viz, the main drawback is that it has repeat instances in it. So we're committed to making sure we remove those and bring it in line with what you expect out of ad hoc analysis. And not really a workflow, but something that we're constantly focused on and iterating on with every release is performance. We want to make sure that we're loading the projects as fast as we can for you, that you can interact very smoothly with the tool, and that you can answer all those business questions that you have without having to wait for any sort of rendering in the browser. So those are a few things that we're committed to working on in particular over the next year. Performance is probably the most important of all of these to us. We know there's some thought that a Java-based program will always be better than the browser, but our team of engineers is focused on ensuring that we make this browser experience of Analysis Workspace as performant or better than what you've come to know and love in ad hoc analysis. There's several things that they've been doing to gain different efficiencies in the browser, like table virtualization and selective loading, so that we can render data much faster than it was rendered before in ad hoc analysis. So we'll continue to take steps like that over the course of the next year. So we're going to share a couple dates in the timeline towards end of life, but before we pull that up, I wanted to share 3 key milestones that we have in mind over the next year, and that is end of sale, end of service life, and end of life. End of sale will be announced, and that is when we will completely stop selling ad hoc analysis. It'll be removed from new product SKUs. End of service life is when our engineering team will stop supporting any bugs for ad hoc analysis. Until we announce that date, we will fully support ad hoc analysis like we have been over the last few years. Even since Workspace has launched, we continue to fix bugs and make sure that you have the same experience that you've come to expect in ad hoc analysis. After end of service life is announced, we'll continue to fix security issues, but we won't fix any bugs, so the experience may slightly degrade over time. The last milestone is end of life, and this is when access to the product will truly end. End of life, we'll put a date on that once we have the workflow parity that we've been mentioning. We want to make sure that we have all of those gaps closed so that you know that you can get the same experience in Analysis Workspace before we put a date on end of life. And once we do put a date on it, it will be at least 90 days prior to when access actually ends to give you guys time to fully adopt some of those new features that are coming to Workspace. So want to give you a glimpse into the timeline that we are working toward for end of life. Some of these things have already happened. So in May, we released our project converter. We wanted to get that out there to give you guys a way to easily convert all of the great project work that you've built up over the years in ad hoc analysis over to Analysis Workspace. Didn't want anybody to waste any time having to manually recreate those projects. In August, we really kind of set this timeline into motion with the announcement on August 6th about the intent to end of life. We launched a transition microsite, which we'll share the link to in just a few minutes. And we also began some in-product notifications to make sure that anyone using Ad Hoc received the message of end of life. It's September now, so today's webinar is taking place. This will be recorded and shared. We'll also put it up on our YouTube channel so you have access to it and all the great resources that we covered today. This month, we also anticipate Oracle releasing Java 11. So we wanted to reiterate that Java 11 will not be supported for Ad Hoc. You'll want to remain on Java 8 to ensure that you can use the full functionality of Ad Hoc Analysis over the course of the next year. So a couple key milestones and dates in 2019. These are subject to change. They are dependent on when we get those gaps closed, but we're targeting to have those gaps closed and features released in Q2 of 2019. Again, those include Advanced Query Builder, large 50K downloads, and improvements to Flow. After we are sure we have those gaps closed, we will announce end of service life and end of sale. And we intend to announce these dates at least 90 days before access truly ends. We are targeting Q3 2019 to end access, but that is kind of the earliest that it could happen. All of these dates in 2019, again, are dependent on us ensuring that we have that workflow parity in Analysis Workspace before we put any firm dates in place. So over the course of the next year, we do recommend trying to do as much of the analysis as you can in Analysis Workspace. We know there's still some gaps around deep dive, large breakdown analyses, but it certainly should meet a large percentage of some of your analysis use cases at this point. You can transition the remaining workflows that you have once we release those features in the spring. We announced in August because we wanted to make sure you have a lot of time to transition over at your own pace to Analysis Workspace. So definitely don't wait until Q2 of next year to begin the transition. Start it now. Try to do some of the analysis in Workspace, and then when those new features come in, you only have a little bit more to transition over. That's our hope, and that's really why we wanted to announce earlier to give you that time to make the transition. We also announced early to partner with you guys in developing those features that we plan to release. We really want to involve our customers in developing those features and to make sure that they truly meet your needs and make you feel comfortable with moving over to this new tool. So with that, we want to move into a how to transition section. So we wanted to give you guys some resources for making the move over from Ad Hoc Analysis to Analysis Workspace. We realize there's a lot of years of experience built up in Ad Hoc Analysis, and it's sometimes hard to move over to a new tool and learn a completely new tool. So in this section, we wanted to share some resources and talk through some key workflows that you may walk through in Ad Hoc Analysis and how those translate over to Analysis Workspace. So the first resource that we wanted to talk about is the transition microsite. This is at adobe.ly/discover workspace. This microsite includes all of the stuff we're talking about in the webinar today and much more detail as well. We did a thorough analysis of all the different differences between Ad Hoc and Workspace, from just terminology to workflows to specific visualizations and how they're handled. We have a lot of resources for learning Analysis Workspace. We have a lot of FAQs that we're going to cover today and even more. And we've also provided ways that you can provide feedback on this announcement. Both a discussion thread that has been going in the forums. As Amber mentioned, we've been participating in that and reading every comment that comes in. You can also use the forums to suggest ideas or features that you'd like to see come over to Analysis Workspace. So all that and more on this microsite. Be sure to jot that down. That is the single source of truth for everything that will be going on over the next year, we'll be sharing more accurate dates as we have them on that site as well. Just a quick example of some of the detailed information you'll find via the microsite. There's lots of little differences between Ad Hoc and Workspace. So this is an example of just some of the terminology. So as you're moving your projects over to Workspace, you'll just have to get used to some new words and ways of referring to things. For example, in Workspace, we have the idea of panels, which are used to group visualizations together, whereas in Ad Hoc Analysis, they're referred to more as tabs. So just a couple different things that we wanted to highlight here, and an example of what you can find when you make it to the microsite. So the next resource that we wanted to go over is the Ad Hoc Project Converter. As I mentioned earlier, this is a tool that we released in May. It helps you, with the click of a button, transition all of your projects from Ad Hoc over to Analysis Workspace. We wanted to put this out there so that you had an easy way to move your project work over. We didn't want to waste your time in making you rebuild any of your projects. The Project Converter is available in an Ad Hoc Analysis. You can get to it from the File menu or the Export icon at the top menu. And you're able to export one or many projects at a time. As the projects are converting, we will provide a conversion summary. In building this converter, we did extensive testing to make sure that it could handle all levels of complex projects. We have come across a few common conversion errors that can be reconciled by you, the customer. If you have any issues with conversion, we've documented those on our help site. If you do encounter an error that can't be resolved through that help documentation, please do file a customer care ticket and include the error code that will be given to you in this conversion summary. We have heard some folks have had trouble using the converter, and we are committed to helping you get all those projects moved over. So definitely don't give up. Please log a customer care ticket so we can work together to make sure you have success using this tool. So once you've converted your projects and you're over in Analysis Workspace, you can find them through the project list. They will have the exact same name that they had in an Ad Hoc Analysis, so you can definitely search that way. They will also have a tag applied called Ad Hoc Analysis Project, so you can easily filter your list down to projects that have come over from Ad Hoc Analysis. So in Analysis Workspace, when you open up a project, you'll see everything that we were able to convert over from Ad Hoc Analysis. We do support nearly all the visualizations that Ad Hoc Analysis offers. If there are any differences in terms of what we support or how we support a specific visualization, we erred on the side of over-communicating those differences to you. We used text boxes and descriptions throughout Analysis Workspace to make sure that you know exactly how the project was transitioned. So we've also documented any differences in the tool as well, or the conversion process as well. So you'll have that reference in the help documentation. So we erred again on the side of over communicating. We want to make sure that you feel confident in how we treated the conversion process and kind of what landed in Analysis Workspace. So with that, Abhinav, if we could jump over to the screen share, I'm going to go through some key workflows that you will go through in Ad Hoc Analysis and how those translate over to Analysis Workspace. So the first and probably the most important workflow is doing deep dive analysis, especially with multiple breakdowns in Ad Hoc. In Analysis Workspace, you do have the ability to do unlimited drill downs. When you bring in your first dimension, the tip we're highlighting on the screen here is that you can multi-select the rows to bring in a breakdown dimension, and that will allow you to break down many items at once. So once you've added in your first dimension of page as an example, and if you want to break that down by channels, you can multi-select and bring over your channel dimension. We wanted to highlight this. You can definitely do kind of onesie, twosie breakdown of each row if you'd like, but this is a quick way to break down many items at once. We realize, though, that this particular workflow probably has the longest way to come in Analysis Workspace to be on par with what you can do in Ad Hoc Analysis today via the table builder. So one of the things we're committed to doing is giving you a way to more easily come in and ask these deep dive questions that involve many dimensions, metrics, and segments, allowing you to build those more quickly and not have to wait for the drag and drop and render actions that occur in Workspace today. So in the sneak section that we're going to share in a few minutes, this is one of the features that we're going to give you a sneak peek into. So the next workflow is segmentation. One of the things that I think I hear the most often about what customers like about Ad Hoc Analysis is the ability to very easily and quickly create segments that are not permanent. You can drag in elements in Ad Hoc. It will create a segment. It won't clutter up the left rail, and you can move on to the next project. So this is something we also offer in Analysis Workspace today. It's through the segment dropdown that you see there at the top. As we're illustrating on the screen, you can bring over any dimension items or other component to that zone, and we will automatically create a segment for you. This segment will be local to the project, so it won't appear in the left rail, cluttering that up, and it won't appear in other projects. It's temporary, but you do have the option to, at the bottom of the screen there, make it public and share it to other users if you'd like as well. So that drop zone is going to be getting even better next Thursday. And we wanted to give you guys a sneak preview of what's to come. So we are going to be releasing drop-down filters next Thursday to this drop zone. This is going to allow you, the Power Analyst, to not only slice and dice your data much faster. For example, you see on the screen here, we've added in a filter for marketing channels, and we're very easily able to toggle between different channels to slice the data that's below. But you'll also be able to build in these controls and share projects out to users that may be less familiar with Analysis Workspace. You'll be able to deliver to them a much more controlled project that still gives them a level of interactivity that they might be needing to answer the questions they have of the data. So we're super excited to release this and take that segment drop zone even further than what you're able to do in Workspace today and certainly in Ad Hoc Analysis as well. So the next key workflow is the linear and participation attribution metrics. In Ad Hoc Analysis, every metric has a first, last, linear, and participation version automatically available in the left rail for you. In Analysis Workspace, these metrics aren't automatically in the left rail. We did this because we didn't want to clutter up that left rail. There are certain metrics that you may want them for, but on a whole, you don't need all of those models for every metric. So we wanted to keep it simple with just the base level metric. But you have long been able to get to first, last, linear, and participation models via calculated metrics. So you can go in there and you can create a participation version of orders, for example, and save that off and have that metric available to you. What we're illustrating here on the screen is what we recently released that kind of adds to this idea of different attribution, and that's Attribution IQ. Attribution IQ adds on a couple additional features to the calculated metric approach that I just shared. It adds 6 additional models on top of first, last, linear, and participation. And you can see the model list here. So you have things like U-shape, time decay, and even the ability to set a custom model now with Attribution IQ. Attribution IQ also allows you to change attribution directly in Workspace, like you see here by clicking on the column settings and changing the model directly from the metric column in a table. So, whether you have attribution IQ or not, you have the ability to get those linear and participation metrics through calculated metrics. And if you do have AIQ, you have even more power at your disposal for doing attribution modeling. So wanted to touch on a couple key visualizations that are used in both Ad Hoc Analysis and Analysis Workspace. The first is the flow visualization. I will admit this is the viz that I think we have a lot of room to grow on in Analysis Workspace. I think some of the positives about it over Ad Hoc Analysis is the visualization of it, how it looks is a lot better. It's also very interactive. We also did a lot of logic under the hood so that nodes can lead into one another. In Ad Hoc Analysis, as you interact with a flow, it spawns off different paths that never lead back to one another. So that's something that we spent a lot of time on when we first released Flow to ensure that nodes can come back together with one another. We also allow for mixed dimension flow, like you see illustrated here, where we're pathing from page to internal search term. So that is something that kind of goes above and beyond what's available in Ad Hoc today. And you can also apply segmentation to the flow as well. For example, if you wanted to just look at people that are on tablet devices and how they move through your property. So there's a lot of great things about Flow. Perhaps the biggest drawback, though, is that repeat instances cannot be removed. And we know that is very important to make this analysis more usable. So that is our primary focus over the next year, is to make sure we can give you the option to remove those repeat instances. We will also be evaluating some ways to make this even better than what you see here today. We're considering adding in more controls over filtering your nodes and setting up your initial flow visualization. So certainly repeat instances, but also more great things to come as well. So while Flow has the drawback of the repeat instances that we're planning on addressing, I think Fallout is above and beyond what is offered in Ad Hoc Analysis today. Fallout, you can combine multiple dimensions and events to create a conversion funnel that is meaningful to you. You can group pages at each step and also rename those steps as well to be more meaningful to the end user that's going to receive this analysis. You can also add as many segments as you'd like to this Fallout visualization to look at Fallout side by side across the different segments. Not only can you work with the Fallout visualization like you see here, which is kind of similar to how you would work with a Fallout in Ad Hoc or reports and analytics, but you also have a lot of right-click options. What we've highlighted here is trending these Fallout touch points over time. So with a click of a button, you can take this snapshot of a Fallout and look at it over time to see if there were any issues. You can also spawn off tables that show you where people went next if they did or did not continue. Those tables, I know, automatically appear in Ad Hoc Analysis. Here we added them through a simple right-click action so that you can look at the tables that matter to you, and then the other ones can stay hidden until you need them. So keep all these things in mind. I think Fallout, again, goes above and beyond what's possible in Ad Hoc today, and Flow will soon catch up to that as well once we close that gap of the repeat instances. So the final workflow I wanted to go through is downloading. We know this, along with table building, are probably the two biggest reasons that customers are using Ad Hoc Analysis today. Being able to download a fuller data set and do additional analysis in other tools or send that data downstream, we recognize is very important to your analysis workflow. So in Adobe Analytics today in Workspace, you're able to download what you see on the screen, which the UI allows for up to 400 visible rows per breakdown. So you're able to download that. You see that on the screen here being illustrated. What we're going to be doing to take this even further, though, is allow you to download up to 50,000 rows per breakdown from a table like you see here. So matching what you're able to do in Ad Hoc Analysis today straight from the Workspace UI. And that is another sneak that I'll share with you in just a few minutes. So just to kind of close up that section, again, we wanted to kind of step through some of those important workflows in Ad Hoc and make sure that you feel comfortable with how they work in Workspace today, and also be very open and honest about where our shortcomings are in Workspace and what we're planning to work on and improve before we end access or even put a date on the end of access. So with that, I'll transition into our sneaks. I think this is the section I'm most excited to share with you guys today. And we want to give you a peek into what we're planning to do. So Abhinav, if we could jump back over to the deck in Connect, I'll take it from there. So the first feature we want to share with you, we're calling Advanced Query Builder right now. We intend for this feature to address the ability to do deep dive analysis with multiple breakdown levels quickly in Analysis Workspace. Rather than the drag and drop and wait paradigm that we have today, we want to give you a place to come in. You have the question in mind that you want to ask. We want you to be able to ask it quickly without having 10 to 20 different build steps in between. So all of these things I'm going to share with you, just a caveat, are mock-ups. We've gone through a couple rounds of research so far with customers to define these mock-ups, and we have a couple more rounds to go still. So what you see here may change slightly to what ends up in the UI, but we wanted to show you guys that we, again, are committed to closing these gaps and are actively working on developing solutions. If you have any feedback on this, please jump into the forum and shoot me a message. This is Jen Lasser talking again. So you can find me on there. If you want to participate in any of the research that we're doing around developing these features, please jump into the forums as well and let me know that. I'm happy to get everyone involved in really shaping how these features turn out. So Advanced Query Builder, we're envisioning is a option of the freeform table. So it's a mode that you'll be able to turn on that will change how the freeform table works. Rather than dragging in a dimension and having it render as soon as you dropped it, instead you'd be able to build and then choose when to run the table. So this is very similar to Table Builder, where you can drag in many dimensions, subsets of dimension items, segments, metrics, all at once, and then choose the time when you want to run the table. We plan on building in a few additional things as well to this, above and beyond what you can do in Ad Hoc today. Through some of the research we've been doing, we found that a lot of folks use the Table Builder and then run in Ad Hoc Analysis the table just to see what it looks like, and then they go back to the Table Builder and make some changes. So we wanted to save you that time of running and going back just so that you could get to the right formatted table. So we plan on adding in a preview button. This will allow you to quickly see kind of what the table will look like once it's rendered before you even click a button and have to wait for our servers to process the data. So we're excited to be considering that for this feature. Again, to take this even above and beyond what you can do with Ad Hoc Table Builder today. We also plan on adding in a loading screen here with a % complete. So letting you know how much longer you have to wait, how many more queries are running under the hood before you will get the final table. A fun fact is Ad Hoc and Analysis Workspace processed the same exact way. So the amount of time that you wait in Ad Hoc today will be the same that you wait in Analysis Workspace. We want to take this above and beyond Ad Hoc, though, and provide you with the status, which I know is something people have long wanted in Ad Hoc Analysis. So we plan on providing that status. In addition, the table will return data as it is available, and you can choose to pause the table and just look at what has rendered so far at any point in time. So you don't even have to wait for the full query to run if you don't want to. The final table will look a little something like this, just like a freeform table looks today. You will have the option to go back to the builder if you'd like to get back to the last builder state that you had added in there. So very similar to Table Builder, where you can go back and make tweaks as you need to. You can, from this table, start to make different onesie, twosie changes if you'd like, and continue your analysis from there. So we're super excited about this. I think this is the feature I'm most looking forward to getting into our product. It's something we're targeting for the spring. And again, it's one of the things we consider crucial to having in Workspace before we end access to Ad Hoc Analysis. So the next feature I wanted to give you a sneak peek on is the 50K download. So while we intend to keep our UI limits the same for now, for performance reasons, we do want to give you the ability to export larger data sets for analysis in other tools and downstream systems as well. So 50K download, we'd like to make an option out of the Advanced Query Builder mode. So you would use the Query Builder to construct your table, and then you would be able to right-click and download the table as CSV. Right now, we're thinking that there would be a modal that would pop up. In this modal, it would look exactly like the builder. From here, you'd be able to tweak the number of rows that you get in the table and the number of rows that are broken down in each of those dimensions. And those limits would be up to 50K. We also want to go above and beyond what Ad Hoc does as well by giving you options in the top right there to remove headers and remove totals and subtotals as well. In talking with our customers so far, we know that once you download a file from Ad Hoc, there's often a lot of cleanup that you want to do to make it more consumable for other processes. So we wanted to really help with that process and make it a lot easier for you by giving you these options before the table gets downloaded at all. So that kind of wraps up some of the sneaks we wanted to share. The Query Builder and the 50K row download are features we are very much working toward getting into the Analysis Workspace product over the course of the next year. And we will also be focused on, again, removing repeats from flow, as well as ongoing performance updates with every release that we have. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Amber to kick us off through the frequently asked questions related to this announcement, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Jen. So Jen and I will be going back and forth and addressing some of the top questions that may have come up, really hitting home some of these answers that we want you to walk away with. So to begin with, what was announced on August 6th?
So on August 6th, we announced plans to end-of-life Ad Hoc Analysis once we reach a threshold of workflow parity in Workspace. We will not end access until Q3 2019 at the earliest. That is what we're working toward, but once we have workflow parity, we will set a firm date, and it will be at least 90 days before access ends. Those dates are subject to change, but they will only get farther out if things do change.
Will Ad Hoc Analysis be fully supported until access ends?
Yeah, this is a great question. This one comes up quite a bit since we've made the announcement. So Java 8 will be the only supported version of the Java framework until access ends. But we will continue to fully support any bugs that come in, any security issues, things like that, to make sure that you have the same level of functionality in ad hoc that you do today. We're not going to be neglecting that product until later next year when we announce end of service life. End of service life is when we will stop fixing bugs and only fix security-related issues. And then that will be followed quickly by the end of life completely around the Q3 timeline. Again, those dates may get only further out if they do change.
Are there plans to end of life other analytics products such as Report Analytics, Data Workbench, Report Builder, etc.?
Yeah, this is another great question. So there are no immediate plans that we have at this time to end of life any other analytics products. You should continue to use those as you do today. Our primary focus will continue to be developing this workspace. We're being very open about that and bringing that experience more in line with some of the capabilities of our other products. But we don't intend to end of life those other products at this time. If we do begin to plan that, we will give advance notice like we have for Ad Hoc Analysis so that there's plenty of time and no surprise about those products being end of life. One in particular, though, that I want to mention is Report Builder. I've actually heard rumors from several customers that they think Report Builder is going away. That is not true. It falls into this category of there are no immediate plans, so you should continue to use that just like you would today. And again, if we do anything different with that, we will share well in advance what our plans are for that one. But I just wanted to highlight that one in particular.
Will all of the functionality of Ad Hoc Analysis be ported to Analysis Workspace?
Yeah, so the straight answer to this is no. We did a very in-depth analysis of differences, no matter how small, between the products, and there's lots of them. So the products will never be exactly the same. We are striving for workflow parity, though, between the two tools and continuing to build innovations into Analysis Workspace. If you do hope that a specific feature is considered for migration over to Analysis Workspace, please, again, put that in the forum thread. You can log a new idea or chime in on an existing idea. We use that to discuss the need for that feature in Analysis Workspace. And we also use those threads to find customers who care very passionately about certain features to talk to them and make them a part of our development process. So please do log your ideas there if you didn't hear something mentioned that you really want to see in Workspace.
What features or workflows are being developed in Analysis Workspace in support of this announcement?
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, there's 3 key workflows that we're looking to improve. Advanced query building and 50K are 2 that we showed you sneak peeks on that we're actively working on now. Improving flow as well is on our list, specifically removing repeat instances. But we do have some stretch goals of making it even better and giving you more control over that visualization. And then all throughout, with each monthly release, we're adding in performance improvements along the way to make sure the browser is as performant or better than what you experience in Ad Hoc today.
Where can you provide feedback on this announcement?
Yeah, so the forum, can't stress that enough. We started a dedicated thread to this announcement. It's called Intention to End of Life Ad Hoc Analysis. There's already been a lot of really good conversation on that thread, a lot of constructive feedback on what we should be considering for this end-of-life plan, and we started jumping on calls with a lot of customers that have commented there. So please do visit that forum thread and join the conversation. It's a great way to also get involved with research opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, message me on the forums if you'd like to get involved with testing some of the features I shared earlier.
Great. Thank you, Jen, for answering a lot of those questions. Again, this microsite that we've put together should be your one-stop shop to answer all questions about the transition to Analysis Workspace and the end of life of Ad Hoc Analysis. Again, it has a ton of really helpful resources both around how to transition and identifying differences between the products, as well as answering some of the key questions. This site will be updated as we go along with some of those dates filling in as they get finalized. So again, please go to this site to answer all your questions. Have this be the first place you go to. But thank you again for joining with us this day, and I'm going to pass it back to Eric to wrap things up for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you so much, Jen. Really appreciate all the useful information. The sneaks were also really interesting to see. Lots of great stuff coming to the products. And if you're still out there, looks like we've got a whole slew of folks. Please do submit your feedback through the polls here, as we take all of this feedback to heart to make sure that we're presenting you with the best content you can get anywhere related to analytics. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at the next webinar.